Yep. Let's try it again.
In the School of Rhetoric, grades 9 through 12, Scott.
Is that better?
You got it.
Okay. Yay.
Are stepping into more self-inquiry. At this stage, we want them to begin to see themselves as independent, genuine learners.
In the School of Rhetoric, we have a lot more freedom, more fun diving into literature, history, Latin.
You're going to see research, you're going to see essays, you're going to see a lot of open-ended or Socratic discussions where teachers are maybe asking hard questions or interesting questions, and then students are exploring. There's a certain sense that students are starting to self-direct a little bit.
It's going to help me really grow to my fullest potential.
We invite you to visit Great Oaks Academy to see if a tuition-free classical education is the right fit for your family.
I love it here.
Great Oaks Academy is a community that emphasizes classical learning education, as well as incorporating virtues into the curriculum and the culture of our school.
I love it here.
Academy is a community that emphasizes classical learning education as well as incorporating virtues into the curriculum and the culture of our school.
I look forward to going to school every day. I'm sad when it's weekends. It's just like a great environment to be in.
If you want your child to be excited about their school, if you want your child to learn at levels that are beyond what you would expect, and if you want your child to feel safe, then Great Oaks Academy is the school for you.
Great Oaks Academy, our classrooms are filled with joy, wonder, and curiosity.
When I was younger, I thought learning was a chore. Since coming to Great Oaks, I've found out that it can be way more than that. It can be a passion, really.
Through our K-12 classical content-rich curriculum in the liberal arts and sciences, our scholars thrive in the classroom and in their communities.
We like to think of the child as a whole. So not only are we trying to create strong minds, but we're also trying to create strong hearts as well.
We don't just emphasize academics, but also virtues. You can be a really smart person, but if you aren't kind and respectful to others, it just doesn't balance out.
A classical education explores great ideas and disciplines that have endured through the ages, including one of our scholars' favorites, Latin.
Students who study Latin do better on standardized tests in just about all subjects.
Our most important curriculum is our teachers who daily model a virtuous life to our scholars.
The teachers here at Great Oaks are the most caring teachers that I've ever seen. They really love the students. They love what they're doing.
And we believe that parents and family play a vital role in the education of their children. And we invite you to be an active part of the community here at Great Oaks Academy.
It pulls you in to want to not just be part of the community, but to bring your own talents and help contribute to it as well. It's being part of something bigger than yourself.
If you want your child to be excited about their school, if you want your child to learn at levels that are beyond what you would expect, and if you want your child to feel safe, then Great Oaks Academy is the school for you.
It allows your child the opportunity to engage with students that are like-minded, that have similar values to what you are trying to establish, not only at home, but in their educational experience.
I love it here. You can walk in and have friends all around you all the time, and you can just know it's a safe learning environment.
We invite you to visit Great Oaks Academy to see if a tuition-free classical education is the right fit for your family. Welcome to Great Oaks Academy's new Eagan Campus. We're proud to be the first charter school in the Eagan area, offering parents the choice of a tuition-free classical education. To learn more, contact us today. Welcome to Great Oaks Academy's new Eagan Campus, an academic retreat situated on 16 pristine wooded acres, because we believe where you learn is just as important as what you learn. We're proud to be the first charter school in the Eagan area, offering parents a choice in education. If you're wondering whether a tuition-free classical education curriculum would be the right fit for your family, contact us today to learn more.
Welcome to Great Oaks Academy's new Eagan Campus. 70,000 square foot building situated on 16 beautiful wooded acres.
One of the foundations of classical education is a connection to nature, which is why our classrooms are going to feature giant windows that let in natural light. Studies show that students learn better when they're exposed to natural light. And that's why at Great Oaks Academy, we believe that where students learn is just as important as what they learn.
Even our cafeteria has a connection to nature. Our students can choose to eat inside or outside on the patio. There's a trail system around our building that can be used for recreation and education. Community is important to classical education. Our first floor is going to be a student life center, which will host band, choir, and other events for both students and their families. We would love for you to be a part of our community.
If you'd like to learn more about classical education or Great Oaks Academy, visit our website or stop by our school. We'd love to show you around.
In the School of Grammar, you'll find our youngest learners. During their kindergarten through 5th grade years, scholars are naturally inclined to take great joy in learning. And we integrate science, history, literature, art, and music into their studies in a way that brings these foundational building blocks to life.
You see the students gaining those building blocks in such positive ways and from people who are modeling it in such beautiful ways. You're seeing people who show up with smiles on their faces, teaching students with smiles on their faces.
These students are kind and loving and grateful to be here, grateful to learn. They know that it's a privilege.
At Great Oaks Academy, we meet our scholars where they're at and then push them to reach beyond what they thought they could possibly achieve.
We want our students to be challenged in all areas of life because if we don't challenge them, they're never going to grow.
We don't take away their hard obstacles. We show them how to persevere through it. And I think that that's one benefit of classical education.
I feel like I am growing every step of the way. The math and reading and science and history are just at the level I need to be at. I'm ready for middle school and high school.
We invite you to visit Great Oaks Academy to see if a tuition-free classical education is the right fit for your family. Located at our Eagan campus, the School of Logic is home to our 6th through 8th grade scholars. Here they study surrounded by nature and in classrooms with abundant natural light, which is proven to enhance educational outcomes because we believe where you study is just as important as what you study.
When they reach the School of Logic, we're preparing them for a world that can be really difficult at times, but also can still be very wondrous. Every school you go to is going to tell you, we want our students to be lifelong learners. That is absolutely true here, but we go through the process of creating systems by which they have the tools to be lifelong learners. The students have to be pushed in the beginning, but when they realize that they can achieve these things that the adults around them see for them, they will achieve them and then go beyond that.
It's fun to like challenge yourself and stretch yourself past your boundaries. And then that new stretching point becomes your boundary. So then you can just go farther and farther and farther.
And we offer numerous co-curricular activities that help our scholars stretch their boundaries outside of the classroom as well.
The School of Logic for me, it's a family that always keeps pushing you to be a better human, to be more virtuous, to be a scholar. I feel lots of joy when I'm here. It's just so much more of a community.
We invite you to visit Great Oaks Academy to see if a tuition-free classical education is the right fit for your family.
Great Oaks offered the students the opportunity to work at their level, and my son needed to be more challenged. It was the best decision we made coming here and being part of this.
I think Great Oaks is the kind of environment where students are respectful. I want my kids to succeed, but more than anything, I just want them to be really nice people. That is a like mindset of the staff here and the teachers and the parents.
Our children are the next generation of this country. We owe it to them to give them the best education and the best start possible. I think this education is helping prepare them to critically evaluate the world around them, teaching them to build independence and to give back and contribute to the communities in which they participate.
We invite you to visit Great Oaks Academy to see if a tuition-free classical education is the right fit for your family. At Great Oaks Academy, we prioritize getting pens, paper, and books into the hands of our scholars.
Our kids are bombarded with technology all the time outside the classroom. So this is a time of the day where they can just focus on reading and writing and interacting with their peers and having face-to-face discussions with their teachers.
We invite you to visit Great Oaks Academy to see if a tuition-free classical education is the right fit for your family.
I love Great Oaks Academy because it's a place where our students can be educated in a really rigorous way. I think they'll be able to really identify what they're passionate about, what they want to study, post-secondary or what profession they'd like to go into. And they'll just do it in a way where they're going to set themselves apart from their peers because they're going to have skills that they've picked up here that make them very well-rounded.
We invite you to visit Great Oaks Academy to see if a tuition-free classical education is the right fit for your family.
if you're coming to Great Oaks, I bet you can make lots of friends and make great achievements. I feel like I am growing every step of the way. The math and reading and science and history are just at the level I need to be at. I'm ready for middle school and high school.
We invite you to visit Great Oaks Academy to see if a tuition-free classical education is the right fit for your family.
Since our kids joined Great Oaks Academy, there's been a huge transformation. I just couldn't ask for more. They're just so excited to talk about what they've learned. We hadn't seen that before. We're so grateful at Great Oaks Academy.
I don't know what that is.
Got this wow skin from Olay Body.
Sorry, I don't know why it recommended Wicked. Google ads, yeah, Instagram, everything. Next door.
It was fun. What I'm gonna try and get is the actual entire unedited footage too, just to show to all of it, because there's a bunch, for all what you just saw, about 80% of it did make it because they had to edit it down to fit what these conversions done. So, I'll get a hold of raw footage. Maybe I'll send it out to them. Yeah, a couple hours. It's fun, right? Okay, well, listen, this is how the night's gonna go. That was just to give you the introduction to how we're doing marketing. The things we're gonna talk about tonight are gonna be where the bonding's at, how it's happening, where we're at in that process. We're gonna talk a little bit about the building and, when construction should begin. And then we're gonna have, our Justin from Marshall Lines to come up and do a presentation on the very special busing system that we have set up for next year, which is quite elaborate, would you say, Justin? Very. So we put a lot of hours into it. So let's get started with you guys take it from me first. Rick, I think you come up with talk about that.
I get to talk about bonding, which is not my area of expertise. So here we go with that. Let me start off by saying that since the very inception of this, when the group of us first found this building and began the process, we put together a pretty thorough schedule and then managed that schedule to get to a closing date that allowed us to construct the space that Cullen can talk a little bit more about. It was essential for us to meet the schedule. And so we've been rolling along on that schedule. This morning, we got a bit of news as it would relate to the bonding. The bonding is a public bonding process where bonds are sold to institutional investors who will then buy those, and then they buy these, and then that funds our ability to do everything that we want to do with the school. And then our plan was to close on the building at the end of January and begin our construction right away. This morning, we found out that there may be a little bit of a hiccup. We don't know, but we thought it was important to share this information with everybody tonight. We have gone through a very detailed process of putting together all the information that we need to do, the paperwork, if you will, as it relates to the school and everything that the investors, who would be the acquiring entities for these bonds. So we're wrapping that information up. And as Paul and I were on a conversation with Piper Sandler, who is the bonding agency, they said, well, the bonding market is a little tenuous right now. And so we're getting ready to go out and price the bonds, as they call it. And so we said, okay. They said, well, we're kind of day by day on this. And so we'll be giving you feedback as we go along. So, okay. What does that really mean? We're not 100% sure what that means. Our assumption is that we're going to keep running down this track, and in about 2 or 3 weeks, those bonds will go to the market and they'll be sold, and we'll close on the building. Now it looks like the building closing date is going to be the first week in February. However, they said, we don't we don't control this. This is based on the Treasury's market and all those kinds of things. You guys have heard of the Fed, and the Fed sets interest rates and talks about interest rate reductions, interest rate increases, and those kinds of things. And all of those things have an impact on the bonding. So as we heard this morning, there are some bumps in that marketplace right now. What that means to us, we're not 100% sure. Everybody is pulling on the oars in the same direction to make sure that we have a smooth process. But over the next couple of weeks, the bond markets are going to set rates and they're going to make certain decisions. Some of those decisions might have an impact on us. It might create a little bit of a delay. It might do more than that. And, you know, at this point in time, we are operating as if everything is going to go along smoothly and that we're going to have a successful bond offering. But we just felt like it was important to share with everybody tonight that while we've been running down the track expecting smooth sailing, there are some things that are beyond our control. And so we are having constant meetings with Piper Sandler and others involved in this right now to help us understand exactly where this process is going, the time frame for the process, and how everything is going to shake out. So there's really not a whole lot that any of us know right now, including the folks at Piper Sandler, with respect to the very specific details about the offering. We meet every Wednesday morning. We'll try to get more updates tomorrow, but I think right now what we're hearing is we're going to let, this is kind of what Piper is telling us, we're going to let the process take its pace, and we will find more information out in a week or so. Again, our hope, our expectation is that we are going to close at the end of the first week of February. But as we were told this morning, we'll have to wait and see. So that's the update on the bonding. What I thought was going to be a real boring conversation added a little excitement as Paul and I were in a conversation with them this morning. But the message for us is stay tuned. We're optimistic. We've done everything we can, and now we're waiting to see what the markets are going to do. So
Are there any questions?
Yes.
So I assume I'm not financially smart for what they are. The bond, I assume you issue the bonds and then as enrollment comes in, the bonds off.
Yeah, so there's a very sophisticated group of people that have run through all the numbers. Long story short, the bonds would be a 35-year bond. So it's just like having a longer term mortgage. You know, the longer the term of the mortgage, the lower the monthly payment. So this thing was structured based on enrollment numbers, projections, everything like that. So financially, you know, we're in a pretty good situation as it would relate to the bonds and the debt service. Yep.
I'm going to put it in layman's terms if I can. You're pretty close, but you're still a little, you're a little up there. The school has done absolutely everything it can, and it's fulfilled all its obligations towards the bonding. And we've received compliments for all the people we've worked with saying, you guys have done an amazing job. You've gotten everything on time. We've been looking at a 100, you know, basically blue skies and sunny weather from Piper Sandler for the last 3 months. But there's some shift in the market they wanted us to understand that could possibly impede the process or slow it. So I want to be frank with you. I never want to be anything but frank. So we hope it's just a small impediment and that everything moves forward. But if it isn't, then we'll let you know. And trust me, I'm a person who always has secondary and tertiary plans. I never set my sights on just one. So, but I still think it looks very positive. So that's really what I want you to hear. Looks really positive. So any other questions? Yep, back there. When you say contingency, do I have a backup plan for where the students would go? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think I know what he's.
I want to make sure I understand the question.
I think I understand the question. The question was if the bonding time frame is delayed, do we have some kind of contingency as it would relate to the construction schedule? What I would tell you is yes, that's the simple answer. The contractor or the construction management firm that we're working with that Cullen can talk a little bit about, these are the same folks that built this building, this renovation. They got this done in an exceedingly short period of time. Our anticipated start date was originally February 1, and they were very comfortable that they would meet that or exceed that. So yes, if this is delayed a little bit, we will work with them to figure that schedule out to make sure that we've got a schedule. Now, if our bonding gets delayed 2 or 3 months, then we're going to be working to figure that one out. Does that answer your question? Yeah, thank you.
Rick, can you step back like 2 steps so that the owl video can pick
Oh,
up? Yeah, that's a little bit better.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be handing this off to
Yeah.
Colin, but
Good.
any other questions as it relates to the bond financing and kind of the process? He doesn't want it, but I'm going to give a little commercial for Paul here. This is a very large team that we're working with. And every one of them has said that Paul is one of the best clients that they've ever worked with respect to getting the work done, getting it done timely, and getting it done right the first time. So he is to be commended.
All right, so I get the fun part of talking about construction and renovation, what the school is going to look like. So before we get into that, just, we're talking about schedule. It's up here on the screen. Obviously, the closing date might slide into that first week of February. Construction would still start sometime in February. Substantial completion is August 1st. Substantial completion basically means the contractor has to have done enough so that we can get a certificate of occupancy and start moving into the school. And so they are going to try to beat that date of August 1st, but of course there's lots of factors there. So staff would ideally move in then right after substantial completion. And then I believe there will be an open house, I'm sure at the end of August, to get ready for the first day of school on September 2nd. All right, now.
Okay.
All right.
I'm jumping the gun. I didn't know.
Okay, so I'm gonna show a couple different views of the building. So the building is 3 stories, 3 levels. We're gonna start on the first floor. So this is a little bit of a 3D view. I know it's a little hard to see on the screen. I'm also gonna show the plan view. So the first floor is gonna have the cafeteria and commons area. And it's gonna have the band and choir room, the gym, and 2 science rooms and labs. And then some back of house. I'm not gonna highlight the back of house spaces like restrooms and storage rooms because that's all the boring stuff. So we'll skip over that. But this is going to be a pretty open area. That cafeteria and commons is a large space that's going to be really multi-purpose, multifunctional, which is just going to be fantastic. So then you can go to the next slide, Heath.
Can I point out something there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Can you back up?
there it is.
These are all here, about 20-foot windows.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that.
Oh,
So I'm gonna get to it. Don't worry. Don't worry. I want this up. Okay, so this is the plan view here. Again, just showing the same thing, just with a little bit of a different view. Again, not highlighting sort of the back of house spaces, but the spaces that will be highly utilized. So if you can picture, well, let's actually go to the next slide because it kind of shows you the view. So now we're looking at those tall glass windows, and that's going to look right into the cafeteria and commons area. So as students are eating, they're going to be able to view outside from those windows right there and then go in and out. I believe we might have some outdoor seating for lunch when the weather is nice. And I'll talk about site here in a little bit, but just in terms of what was highlighted in some of the marketing videos, the windows and the light and the surrounding trees and landscape is just going to be absolutely beautiful. I know that some of you had actually a chance to go in the building when we did the tours. We'll have more opportunities like that. Obviously not when it's under construction, but I believe shortly thereafter. So And it's gonna look a lot different, of course, when it's a school. But just exciting to, again, be able to have this building, 66,000 square feet, 16 acres. It's just absolutely a beautiful space. All right, so let's go to the second floor. So this is the floor that you enter in on. So that first level is actually one level below the parking lot. So parking lot is at second floor. So it has the main entry, has the staff offices, staff lounge, and then a variety of classrooms. It has the art rooms and then some breakout spaces. So again, this is sort of showing the 3D view where the walk through the different hallways and whatnot. Now we can show the plan view. Now, I do want to caveat this a little bit. These are the classroom designations as shown on the architectural drawings and the way we're planning them to be built. Certain rooms won't move. The art rooms are going to be there. The science rooms are going to be there because they are built with certain amenities and requirements for those spaces. Lab equipment, art storage, things like that. Some of the other rooms, math and literature, for example, could be switched around. So some of this will be potentially changed as we get ready for the school year or in years beyond. But this is the way that it's going to be built out for this fall. So history and social studies there on the left, on the west side, art in the middle there in the blue, math in the northwest corner, then literature, some sped rooms, and then where the main entry is here on the northeast, or excuse me, southeast side here. Come in right next to the staff offices, and then there's some conference and breakout rooms as well. And then anywhere where you see sort of a wide hallway, we'll be able to use those for student gathering spaces, little study spaces, art display areas, things like that. Really flexible areas. All right, we'll go to the third floor. Third floor, more classrooms, more science rooms and labs. The languages will be up here. Again, more breakout rooms. And then I call them student alcoves, those flex spaces, those wide hallway areas that can be used for a variety of purposes. So we'll go to the next slide here. So again, showing the same thing here in plan. Science rooms on the left, on the west side, literature and history along the north. Those are going to be sort of premier rooms. All these rooms actually are going to be fantastic, but the third floor looking north is personally one of my favorite spots. Because you see, you can see even the Minneapolis skyline in the background. You see the whole wooded area. So just really, really beautiful spot. That northeast corner is going to have that stair going down with all the glass and some breakout spaces. Languages there in the middle in dark blue, and then on the east side, math. And sped in the middle as well. So that's a fairly quick preview, and I know that sometimes it's hard to visualize these things when they're on drawings, on plans and renderings. So we're really excited to show this all to you when it's all built up, and then you can actually see the space.
You have one more slide.
I do have one more slide.
One
Yes.
more slide.
Your slide. So we're talking about the site. So this is a very high level here. You can see the building at the top of the screen, the courtyard there. So this is showing the landscaping work that will be done. The city of Eagan is requiring that we remove some dead ash trees and replace those with new trees. So we're going to be doing that. All the parking lot islands are going to have 2 trees. Everything will be fully irrigated. The entry and exit to the building, or to the property, I should say, is there on the sort of the northwest side. And then we're also going to be building a PE field. So it's going to be fully irrigated and sodded there on the east side of the parking lot, which will be a very large space for outdoor recreation. So that is my presentation for you. Any questions on this part? Yes. So the question is, there going to be a library, Paul? I'll kick that one to you.
No. Right now, no. What we've done, if you want to go back to where we had the library, and I'll explain what we've done.
So that's first.
There it is. Where you see the band choir room, we had a choice. Let me explain to you. We could have cut off the gym and put the band choir room here, but the gym would not have been suitable size. And given that we're in Minnesota and I wanted a full-size gym where the kids could play, I took the band choir out of here. We were going to have a library, if you will, media room right here. But as we started talking with 2 other classical charter schools, Eagle Ridge and St. Croix Prep, they both said, well, we did a library, but then we realized we never used it. All our students were working out of the various classrooms that they were in, had all their literature in there. So we ended up converting them to something else. So learning from them, I said, you know what? We're going to have little library alcoves throughout the school. So you saw those wide open areas. We're hoping to put some bookcases there and have books, and then figure out a way where if kids want to take a book, they can just come up to the front, or they can go to a teacher and check it out through the teacher. But that way we don't distribute just one room to a library. And all those other areas are, I think you showed in the one picture where we have desks or tables out. So you have to imagine a fully lit wide area where kids can go study outside the classrooms or sit and read a book. That's what these, you call them student alcoves, will look like. So anyway, in lieu of that, no library for it. So when we do, well, yep, I'll leave it at that. No library for it.
Any other questions? Yeah.
A little bigger.
Can you state the question?
Yeah, so the question was, are the classroom sizes about the same as this building? And generally they are, maybe slightly bigger.
Slightly bigger.
Slightly bigger, yeah, they're around 800 to 1,000 square feet.
Our rooms and our science rooms are bigger.
Yeah, our science room, bigger, yep. Yep.
The question is whether we will just contain the indoor gym and be satisfied with that because it's the height level is a little low, or will we be eventually building a gym? Our plan is to eventually build a separate gym. The height level is, because I've looked at it several times, would be about, if you look at that pipe up there, I'm sorry, Zoom people, I'd come down about 3 feet from that, and that's the height level. We're also, you don't know this because we're in it, that we're having all the stuff that you saw in there's being cleared out, and we're taking it up just to the, the structure. And then that space that was gonna be the band choir room is pretty huge too. And that's all gonna be opened up. So it's not gonna be this high, but I think it'll be high enough to, maybe do volleyball or shoot baskets, that kind of thing. Certainly big enough and wide enough to run around it. You know what I mean? So.
Any other questions? Yeah, so the question is, will the PE field eventually be more of a sports field? So there's some variables to that question. One of them is the trees. So the city of Eagan is limiting us a little bit on how many trees we can remove. And then just the physical size of the space is also a little bit limiting. It's not quite big enough, I don't believe, for a full-size soccer field or a football field.
How big is it?
I don't have the exact dimensions in my head at the moment.
I beg to differ. I walked it, and I think it is. It's considerably large. You saw it, Mr. Carpenter. It's what we walked.
Okay, so maybe I stand corrected on that.
Can you repeat what he said?
Yeah, so there is some belief that it will be long enough to run a full-size soccer field for high school. So that is certainly something we'll look at for the future. There are things that we are not building out right now, such as lighting, for example. We will not be building lighting for the field. There's not gonna be a concession stand, that kind of thing. That would come with a whole nother set of permitting. The goal right now is to create a field that can be used for PE and other outdoor activities. But eventually, well, and certainly sports practice as well. Yeah.
I get concerned for our right? So like there was some language regarding the map. Is that going to be a position like middle school, high school, but I'm just gonna.
And this is where Mr. Wetzer comes on up, because he's going to be looking at scheduling and that type of thing for that site. I would say that there probably will be intermixing, but you can answer that.
Yeah, so the question was, there are some spaces, classroom types that are duplicated. So there's some math spaces on second floor and third floor, literature, et cetera. So the question is, will School of Logic and School of Rhetoric be sort of split? How will that work?
In the first year, most of what we'll be doing is on the second floor, and then that
third or that first floor, because cafeteria, gym will be first floor, band, music or whatever. And then the second floor will pretty much fit everybody in from grades 6 through 9. As we grow each year, we'll expand into those other classrooms. So there may be some mixing, but the ideal would be to have, you know, like all of high school on one level, all of middle school on another level. There's going to be some crossover for a while, especially if, like, you know, let's say high school's on the third level and they have to move down to the PE or the band room or science or something. So there may be some, you know, traffic up and down the steps, but we're going to take some steps to mitigate the flow of traffic to the point that there's a degree of separation there. It won't be like, you know, perfect, but there will also be separation of schedules too. So like next year, 6th grade through 9th grade will be very similar schedules, but as we grow that high school, the schedule is going to start diverging a little bit. And so middle school schedule will look, let's say, slightly different than the high school schedule, and there'll be different options. So I think that's a good answer for now.
Yeah, we won't need the full 66,000 square foot.
We're gonna have a lot of
next year. We'll have some extra room next year, so there'll be changes as we grow. Any other questions? All right, well, before we transition, I think we're good. All right, before we transition, just I probably should have said this at the start, but I think I mentioned it at the last town hall. So working with LHB Architects, they worked on the design. Right now, their drawings are in for permit with the city of Eagan, so that's again part of the process. And then our construction manager is ready to go once we get permits and bonding squared away.
Raring to go. They're ready.
They're ready to go.
So the next up is Justin from Marshall Lyons. Justin and I have worked together now for 5 years. I was the scrappy charter school that came to him way long ago saying, can I just get a bus or two? And he said, who are you? So, but he's been stood faithfully by us. Marshall Lyons has gone far and beyond for us to accommodate us, to give us good schedules, to make sure that our children arrive on time. So we're staying faithful with Marshall Lyons because they've been so good to us. And he's going to talk to you about the 2-site plan.
Yes. There it is.
So I'm not sure if that's a good thing, working with Paul for 5 years. I remember when he came to me first and I went, okay. So who are we? I just want to start with that. Those of you who don't know, go ahead, Ethan. We're Marshall Line. We've been in Farmington forever, mainly to support Farmington schools. While we're still there for Farmington schools, we've continued to grow our business. We currently run under the name of Mid-County Bus Company. Some of you are probably a little confused when you see some of our buses that say Farmington Schools on them, and some say Mid-County Bus Company. We're all the same company. We're slowly transitioning everything to Mid-County Bus Company so we can be more versatile with our buses. I'm on video. So we transport just out of our Farmington location about 7,000 students daily. That includes about 41 full-size buses, 41 special ed buses, and about 26 to 30 type 3 buses, which are basically the vans that you see running around. We run 6 motor coaches. We travel the lower 48. Trust me, my phone rings at midnight all the time because apparently they're in different time zones. So yes, we do travel all over. We have approximately 200 employees. Actually, we're approaching about 210 right now. We're the 5th largest employer in Farmington. And we do all our maintenance on site. We like stated before, we do all of Farmington Schools transportation, all of Great Oak Schools transportation, and we are a subcontractor for District 196, which is Apple Valley, Eagan, Rosemont. So you probably see our buses all over the South Metro. We contract with a lot of the cities for their summer programs, Farmington Community Ed. I know we just got Apple Valley's summer programs. We're also partnered with the YMCA. We do all of YMCA's summer transportation for all their camps and everything throughout the whole metro, anywhere from the north of the metro, west, east, all the way as south as Faribault, Rochester. We actually, everyone says, well, don't you get a break in the summer? we run just as many buses in the summer and we put on more miles in the summer than we do almost during the school year. So we are nonstop there. We love what we do. We love hauling kids. We love building these partnerships. We love working with Paul. And as you can see on the map, we have companies throughout the whole not the United States, throughout the whole Minnesota, everywhere from Duluth to Fergus Falls to north side of the cities as far south as La Crosse. So it makes us very versatile when we gain customers. If it's something maybe we can't do out of Farmington, I mean, I'm on daily calls with all of our terminals. Hey, I got this customer here. They're looking for a bus. I can't serve them. I'm short buses. Do you think you could run over here and help us out? So we love this spread of ours to be able to serve everyone around here. So 24-25 school year. We're good. Okay. So 24-25 school year, what we're doing right now for Great Oaks. So right now, as it stands, we run 5 AM and PM routes that fall within the District 192 boundaries. We also run one special ed route for some special ed students. We're transporting approximately 300 students to and from Great Oaks right now, and 240 of those being elementary and about 60 being middle school. Transportation does not come cheap. We're right now estimated to be right around $500,000 for the transportation provided to Great Oaks this year. We are super excited to continue to grow with Great Oaks, and we're ready to partner and gear up for this next year. So what does 25-26 look like? Paul and I and Margie, and I know Heath, we've been working together to try to figure out how we're going to serve 2 locations that are approximately 20 miles apart. There's a lot of redundancies. We're trying to keep transportation times down. We don't want kids on buses for 1.5 hours, right? Our goal is always under an hour, ideally a half hour max, but we know as we expand our area, those times do increase. And to do this, we're going to have to go to a tiered system. So what's a tiered system? Tiered system means is we're one set of students, and then we're going to go back out and get another set of students with that same bus. And that is to get the transportation times on the buses down and to separate some age groups that way. The kind of challenging part about Great Oaks is there's really no boundary, right? We're trying to attract families throughout the whole South Metro, but how do you transport these students throughout the whole South Metro and be successful in doing it and looking at the costs of doing it? Because it's not cheap to run a bus that gets 5 miles per gallon, 5-6 miles per gallon down the road. To do this, next year we're looking at, with the tiered system, we're going to need about 6 additional drivers. And when I say 6 additional drivers, you're going, well, you already have 5. What do you mean 6 additional? So right now we're able to take the existing routes and we work them within our existing route structure, which means that bus, before it goes and picks up the current students, is out doing other things. And then it goes on to a Great Oaks route, or it does a Great Oaks route, and then it goes on to do other things that we have contracted with us. What that does is keeps costs down, but with this tiered system, it's going to basically utilize that bus for all of Great Oaks AM and PM for the entire route. So when I say, okay, yep, we've to date, as we've grown with Great Oaks, we've been able to use our existing buses. We haven't had to need to expand our fleet. But when we look at the plan that we've come up with here, and it kind of, I know we went back and forth on this. The end result is I'm going to need to get 6 more drivers and 6 more buses on the road to be able to serve these 2 locations in the whole South Metro, which, as you all know, right, you've all watched the news, acquiring drivers isn't the easiest thing in the world. We can buy buses, but acquiring drivers is one of our struggles. We've been doing a lot better, but we still do struggle in that department. With this also comes increased costs. You know, when we're able to tier these routes with our existing route structures, we're able to share that cost. And now that if we go to more one-on-one service, dedicated Great Oaks buses, as I would call them, you know, the costs are going to go up. What that cost is ultimately going to be is a little up in the air, and a lot of that is based on enrollment. Every year, I know in the past, Paul and I in August are on the phone daily. Okay, where are our enrollment numbers? Where do we need the buses? What are the times? You know, I'm working till midnight, 1 in the morning doing these routes so we can minimize them and keep these structures down. And where the enrollment ends up coming in and how we need to serve the communities is really going to affect that budget factor. And that's to be determined, right? It's who's going to be here next year, where are they going to be located, and how can we serve them to make sure they can get to and from school, and to take the burdens off parents and families to get people in and out, congestion, those types of things.
Can I have you move closer to the table, like centered in front of that mic stand? Because the owl is still not picking you up for some reason.
Got it.
Okay, that's a little better.
So can I jump in with you too? Absolutely. Okay. So what he's trying to set you up for is that in order for us to serve both sites, keep route times down, and pick up as many kids in different locations, we went to a two-tiered system. But the next page is going to show you that to do a two-tiered system, obviously with schools 20 miles apart, you can't have the schools start at the same time, because you have that fleet of buses doing the elementary. Well, then they got to go out and do that fleet of buses is now covering an area from Farmington, Lakeville, Apple Valley, Rosemont, Eagan, that whole area. So those buses need to they have to have time. So the next page is going to reveal to you what I think is the pertinent news you're hearing is the start time for our elementary school and the start time for our middle school. So I'm going to let you take that, okay? But I think that's what they're waiting for.
Yeah, don't blame me for all of it. So just to hit it real quick, the must-dos. So when you have a charter school located within a district boundary, which every school is going to be located within some district boundary, the charter school is required to provide transportation to those students to and from school. Now, there is a few ways they can do that. They can go to the existing school. So in this case, for this building here, Paul and team could go to Farmington schools and say, hey, I need all my Great Oaks family within the District 192 boundaries transported to and from school. And Farmington schools sets the expectations. They go, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Farmington schools receives the funding from the state. They set up the transportation. They pay for the transportation. Great Oaks has no say. We've to date opted against that for the complexities of Great Oaks and knowing that we were going to grow together and eventually have schools in multiple districts. And what this does is it does increase the transportation costs, but it moves some of the freedom to us. So just to kind of reiterate, District 192 boundaries aren't huge, you know, just basically 170th Street, Cedar, out to about 52 and south to about Castle Rock. And then now we have this new school, District 1, that's going to fall within the District 197 boundaries. So now Great Oaks got another obligation to transport students to and from the new school located in the District 197 boundaries. So this is going to make Great Oaks required to transport students to some level. There's some ways, I don't want to say required, but there's some ways they can offer families different options, but that they have to serve the District 197 boundaries for the students that are being served at the new Eagan campus. So when we look at this, what does this mean? So this is what Paul's referring to as school times. We're proposing right now that we have school buses drop off here at the main campus downtown or the Grammar campus at 7:25 to 7:30. So we're going from kind of an 8:30 drop to a 7:30 drop, about an hour earlier, with then parent drop off immediately after the buses. So the buses can get in, drop the students, and get out. With a school start time of 8 o'clock. So a little bit of leeway for time there. And then with a school end time of 2:30, A, we gotta meet hours requirements, but B, we gotta look at routing efficiencies. With school end time at 2:30, buses out of here by 2:35. Great Oaks is always super efficient. We're in and out of here. And then parent pickup right after that. So what this allows us to do, so remember, we got buses coming in here at 7:30. And remember that I said, okay, we have 5 buses now, but we're going to 6. The reason to go to 6 and it's 6 in the morning is to get route times shorter, right? Right now, we're running 5 routes. They're averaging 40-ish minutes, depending on the route. And obviously with a 7:30 drop time, we don't need to be loading kids at 6:50. And we're trying to keep those times back. So we're looking to expand morning routes up to 6 to kind of get those pickup times ideally between 7 to 7:30. So buses are making their first stop anywhere from 6:55 to 7. They're running their routes here at Great Oaks by 7:30. So they can then be freed up to go then do middle school pickups.
Too far.
So then that brings us to middle school times. Middle school times up at the Eagan campus, the new building. We'd be looking to have the buses up there dropping by 8:25 to 8:30 with parent drop off kind of going with bus traffic with the bigger campus, bigger parking lots, a little bit better traffic flow. We're pretty confident that we can manage both at the same time with the school day start shortly after at 8:40. Same will happen in the afternoon, 2:30 release times here at the elementary school. Those buses need to have times to get the elementary school kids home and then be able to run up to Eagan to make it there by 3:40 to get buses loaded out of the lots by 3:40 and then parent pickup would proceed at the same time, kind of like morning drop off for middle school.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to a couple things here. So I saw this cell phones come out and take pictures. So I knew it was important to you. Here's the thing that you need to understand. For us to have done this fleet of 7 and the fleet of 7 at 2-tier, a lot of you are probably going, well, that's an hour apart. That's really hard. So the first thing that would go through my mind as an elementary parent is, wait, they just dropped my student off at 2:45 at my house. And I have a middle schooler that's not getting out until 3:40 or 3:30 and then bus back. What we're working on, and this is the tricky part why it's so expensive, we're working on trying to figure out places in the Lakeville, Farmington area that in the PM for those middle schoolers that would be a suitable drop zone. We've even gone as far to look at what do you call that, route drop?
Yeah, like neighborhood route drops.
So if we can pull this off, do not hold me to this one. The idea is that in the PM, the middle schoolers could come back, but they'll be route dropped, meaning there will be in walking distance of their houses. So you're not having to go out and pick up again. Does that make sense? The other nice part of this is that in the morning, because of the way we're doing it, we're going to be able to have more routes out with 7 buses, right? We talked about 6, sorry. Well, we have that Lakeville bus, but that's
part of the 6. So
oh,
he's jumping
sorry,
ahead here.
6. All right, I'll go back. Sorry, that's typical. But I just wanted to.
We lost Heath. Next page here. So this seems all complicated, right? This is what I do every day. It's a piece of cake for me. That's all I do every day. But I tried to put together a visual that hopefully this will be shared online to try to show what 6 buses will do. And I know it doesn't show up great here, but you can see there's 6 lines, each representing a bus schedule. We're looking at morning only right here. You can see the first 6 are highlighted in light green. Those would be the K-5 District 192 Farmington school routes or Farmington district routes that would serve this campus here. Just like we are doing now, except instead of 5, we're going to 6 to get the times shorter on the routes. Then you go, okay, well, I have a middle schooler that needs to go up to Eagan and I got to get my elementary kid on the bus. And now how's my middle schooler getting up to Eagan? What we've talked about is then allowing middle schoolers to get on these 6 routes with siblings or alone, you know, if they're a solo middle schooler, so that they can come to this campus at that 7:30 time and be able to jump on an early shuttle bus up to Eagan. So buses would drop here at 7:30. The elementary kids would come into the campus here. The middle schoolers would then shuttle onto one of those 6 buses, then would go straight up to Eagan to drop off early, where there would be staff space opportunity at the Eagan campus for those students to be up there at 8 o'clock for an 8:30 school start. Because then at 8 o'clock, that bus, once it drops up there, has to turn around and theoretically, and again, this is really all based on enrollment, is go out and get District 197 students. It has to go back out into the District 197 from 8 to 8:30 to pick up students to get back to school by 8:30 for those students, based on obligations that will be required by Great Oaks to get those students. We know starting out, those enrollments could be lower because we know a lot of the enrollments now are South Metro, Farmington, Lakeville, not so much attraction from Eagan, but with a lot of the advertising that's going out, there could be a good draw that is going to grab some kids up there that bus would have to go back out. At the same time, the other 5 buses would have other obligations to go and do similar things. 2 or 3, depending on enrollment, would then drop here at that 7:30 and go to designated Lakeville sites. Lakeville, Eagan, and again, where those sites might be, we have some ideas, but based on enrollment and feedback that we will, I'm sure, be pushing some surveys out to see where those sites might be so that we can go to a drop zone for Lakeville's parents. Just like we do now at St. John's, you know, we might be looking to go further into Lakeville or more north up into Eagan, where the bus can go to a holding site, pick up middle school students, and then go up to the Eagan campus. So those families who maybe are living in Lakeville aren't having that burden to go all the way up to Eagan. They can go maybe just down the road to a drop site, load their kid up, and go on up to the site. Complicated, I know. The other part too that we have discussed is Lakeville families who, let's say, have elementary and middle school parent kids, right? You don't want to meet somewhere to get your kid on a bus, to only have to meet the bus again to get them on a middle school bus. So one thing we've talked about is because we delayed or we're dropping here at the elementary school at 7:30, but school really doesn't start till 8, is offering a late Lakeville bus. So, and when I say late Lakeville buses, it would, one of those 3 Lakeville buses that I'm talking about would possibly come here first, drop any elementary kids off at about 7:40, 7:45, and then go up to the Eagan campus so that the Lakeville families would not have the burden of trying to meet 2 times at a drop location. You can get your elementary and middle school kids on one bus. We can get them here just before school starts, you know, 15 minutes before, and still get up to the Eagan campus in the morning to get those students just before school starts at about 8:15, 8:20. Now, again, I want to caution, though, this is all high-level logistics based on estimates that we don't know about with enrollment. And some of the stuff could change based on interest, enrollment levels, and locations of enrollment. So I do want to caution that. I know there was a hand in the back. Correct. Yes, there would be a yes. So to repeat the question, so he's asking, there will be a shuttle, or he's asking, will there be a shuttle from the Farmington location to the Eagan campus? And to answer that question, as of now, based on how we want to set the system up and based on interest levels, the answer would be yes. There would actually be 2 shuttles leaving out of here to go up to the Eagan campus. What we would call the early shuttle at 7:30, which would serve parents who want to put their middle school kid on with their elementary kid, come into here, get on the early shuttle, go up to the Eagan campus. And then there would be a late shuttle, which would most likely be the same bus that would take the Lakeville dual purpose shuttle to bring elementary and middle school kids here, drop the elementary kids off, hold the Lakeville middle school kids, and then load any Farmington families who maybe just wanted to meet at this location at the later time to get those students on the bus and get them up to Eagan. Did that answer your question? So we'll just focus on AM right now because it gets just as confusing in the PM, right? So that's why we're just going to do AM, but the answer is yes, there's going to be some sort of it. And I know there's another hand there. So the question is, if a student had a full desire to make the early bus from Farmington to Eagan, middle school students, full desire making the bus on time. We all know how that goes, right? So based on actual enrollment numbers and where we see ridership, my gut answer would be, yeah, why not, right? There's no reason not to, unless for some reason we're running into capacity issues, which at that point, if we're running into capacity issues, unless every middle schooler decides to wake up late, I don't see why that wouldn't be an option. Okay, so the question was, why was the decision made to bring elementary students in earlier, which then in result gets them home earlier than the middle school students, therefore possibly having to have issues with who's going to supervise my younger kids when possibly a middle schooler could be at home. There's many factors into this. One is route efficiencies, but two is you either have it one way or the other. So in the morning, you offer it so elementary and middle schoolers can ride in together, so you don't have that burden of split times in the morning. And then in the afternoon, you end up having that split, where if you do it the other way, you're going to run into the same issue in the morning, that who's going to transport the middle school students up to the middle schools, because there's really other than a shuttle. So in the morning, you would have to drive your middle schooler to a shuttle location, while at the same time trying to get your elementary student ready for school, because a bus is going to come to your doorstep 20 minutes after that. So there is some trade-offs in how you do that. And from what we can tell based on our initial discussion on this, is that the trade-offs we felt would be better in the afternoon. I can tell you this kind of follows the Farmington schools model a little bit, right? The 7:30 in with the elementary. And we've kind of based off that. I know there was talk about other ways. Without sitting down and going through every point, there's many pros and cons to each. We understand that there is that burden in the afternoon. And I know there's been even some discussion of, and I'm not going to speak for Paul here, but of how can the school help? And I'm just going to speak, I'm not offering anything here, but I'm going to speak in terms of what Farmington Schools done, offering like a Kid Connections program, where there's opportunities for the elementary students to stay until there's, the middle school students would come, but that would be, again, that's not my opinion part of it. So I definitely, we understand your concerns there with the multiple times and elementary students getting homework earlier.
There's the seat time too. It's different.
Yeah, oh, yes, and that is a very good point. The other thing that does drive this is school class required times are different for elementary age kids and middle school age kids. Elementary kids do not need to have as many hours in a given year, where middle school kids have to have more hours. So when you do it on the reverse, a lot of times your times in the afternoon clash. There wasn't enough gap there. So there is that too.
And lastly, just it's the new science, if you will, that middle schoolers, high schoolers need more sleep. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of middle schools and high schools with later starting times now. That's the kind of the new trend. So that was minimal in our just thing, but the seat time and the complexity that he just described to you, which one I won't do again, is really what led us to that schedule. But we did look at multiple variations of this, many variations.
Yep, go ahead. I don't know that has been fully vetted out.
No, Great Oaks Academy would be in session at both sites, or not in session at both sites.
And just to reiterate the question was, would there be days where there would be elementary classes in session, but no middle school, or vice versa, middle school in session, no elementary, and Paul's response being no.
What does the question that you were close to asking, but you didn't ask is, what schedule will you follow? 197 district schedule for the at the middle school, high school versus Farmington? Because right now we follow pretty closely the Farmington Lakeville schedule so that it matches up with periods of time that are vacation time and winter break, spring break. That decision hasn't been fully rendered, but I would say that we're going to have a hybrid. It's not going to follow exactly Lakeville, Farmington, but we'll try and keep it very close to that and hope that that works out in the 197 district as well. But it's a variable yet to be seen. So that drives a little closer to your question, maybe. Yes. Okay, thanks. At least I gave you an answer you didn't need. That's good. That's good.
Go ahead. So that is correct. So the question is, if I have a middle schooler that lives within the 192 district boundaries in the morning, again, we're just talking morning transportation at this point, how can my student get to school? So there'd be two options. The first option would be we could get them routed on a regular route at a corner stop in your neighborhood, just like they are getting to and from school now. They would get to school, they would get to the main campus, I call it main campus, or Farmington campus here at 7:30, catch an early shuttle bus up to Eagan and be up to Eagan early. The second option would be, no, I don't want my kid up to Eagan early. I'll just drop them off at the later time. They would then get dropped off here at the main campus, which we're projecting to be an 8 o'clock departure with the shuttle, because it's about a 25-minute drive up there. So the shuttle would depart here at 8. So you would have to meet here, drop your students, and then at 8 o'clock and go up to, they would catch what we were referring to as the late shuttle times, again, not in stone, but catch the late shuttle up to the Eagan campus.
I think we better jump to the PM.
Wow, yeah, before someone else raises their hand. So PM is a little bit simpler in regards to The buses will show up here at the Farmington campus. They will load. We're projecting right now to keep it down to 5 buses going home. Because A, there won't be middle schoolers on the buses. And B, we have just a tad bit more time to get these students home than getting kids up and trying to get them on the bus at 6:45 in the morning. So we're looking to go back to 5 routes per take home. We would then run the 5 routes out of here home for the students that would have classes, your elementary students out of the main campus in Farmington. Run those 5 home, then those 5 buses would go up to the Eagan campus, load any students there, and those would then go to either the Lakeville shuttle sites or come back to Farmington. What we have kind of lightly proposed is, our original thought was, oh, they're going to come back to the main campus, and if you have a middle schooler that wants to take the shuttle back to Farmington, you're going to have to meet the bus at the main campus here in Farmington, just like a Lakeville parent would have to do if they want their kid to take the shuttle bus to a Lakeville drop site. What we've discussed is really looking at enrollment, because when the buses leave the middle school, that's kind of the last thing they have to do for the day. So then how can we accommodate the families and do more what we're referring to as neighborhood stops? They're not going to be door to door or maybe corner stops, but maybe more neighborhood stops where we can stop in neighborhoods or parks in the neighborhoods so we can get these kids closer to home, so that if you're a parent, you're not driving all the way down to downtown Farmington, and at the same time you're driving to downtown Farmington, you're following the bus here because you're coming from northern Farmington and you're following right the bus, pick up your kid and go right back north, so that we can maybe pick a few drop sites for students that are closer to the neighborhood's home, so that those middle school students in some cases could walk home on a good day. And there might be days where you would choose, well, yeah, it is a mile and a half. Maybe it's cold out today. Like today, maybe I'll meet the bus at the neighborhood drop site to grab my student.
That was the part I was talking about, the neighborhood drops.
Clear as mud, right?
Yeah.
Now you know why Paul and I and Margie and Heath sat in an office for hours staring at each other going, how are we going to figure this out?
I don't think Heath was there.
I wasn't there.
I was trying to give
Thank you though. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Without
He was there behind the scenes.
So I think you can all take a breath and say, wow, that's a little bit complicated, isn't it? But having sorted through it, our hope is that we are serving the Lakeville, Farmington families with everything we have. And to do that, we are putting about $900,000 to $1 million into it. And that's a serious investment, but we think it's worth it because of the families that have supported our school. So we want to do it. But it isn't just like that. I get it. As I listen to the routes, I say, woof. If you have a middle schooler and an elementary, it's going to be a little complicated at first. But if we've done our job correctly, it should get into a groove and you should be like, oh, that does work. Okay. And then, we find a way to make it work. So, and we'll do some adjustments if we have to. But right now, we've poured all the resources we can into making this work. So we hope the enrollment can stabilize with these transportation choices. That's what we're hoping. So questions for me or for Justin? Anybody? In the back, sir, in the back. That's the hope, but I would say let's realize that the first few weeks are going to look a little rough, because the drivers got to get used to the routing, and I just would say let's have a little patience with us for those first few weeks and give them a good book. I'm thinking Moby Dick. So,
Or so to follow up on that, and again, the question is does that make it look like route times are going to be shooting for that half-hour mark? Half-hour mark is ideal, right? Half-hour max is ideal. Will there be routes that push up to 45 minutes? There certainly could be. What that really does kind of guarantee us is we're shooting for 6 buses for our elementary students. We're shooting for about that half-hour mark in the morning and that 30 to 40 minute, even 45-minute route in the afternoon. Keeping the morning shorter, afternoon a little bit longer. As far as morning route times for middle school students, depending on the option that you choose, right? That's going to determine your ride time, right? If you want to send your middle school student on an elementary route bus and then get on an early shuttle, yeah, they're going to come south. If you live in North Farmington, they're going to end up coming south to drop here, to wait a little bit while we transfer students, to then go all the way up to Eagan. So will that route time possibly be up to an hour? It could be. If you're first on the route for the elementary route in the morning, have to come all the way here, have to sit, and then get up to Eagan, it could be pushing that hour as a middle school student. And that's kind of why I'm sure some of the questions came up. Well, maybe I don't want to put my kid and have them sit on the bus for possibly up to an hour. Yeah, then you would just meet the bus here and have them grab the shuttle so that then they're back just to that time from here to Eagan. Afternoon, again, depending how we line up enrollment for middle school students and how we do what we're proposing to be middle school neighborhood stops. And I say that with caution because we're not going to be able to do exact doorstep stops with middle school students, just out of courtesy to other families, right? We can't hold up everyone to make a stop at everyone's house on the way as we go south. So more direct neighborhood stops. Depending where you fall in that round, yeah, I mean, we're shooting for that half-hour, 45-minute mark in the afternoon.
And that was the point of the shuttles, as you stated, that was to get those times down, so. You're gonna have to give me time on that. We'll work it out, it's a great question, but we haven't even touched that yet. We know that there will be activities and we know that they're going to be in certain locations, several at the middle school, obviously, high school. And we'll have to figure out routing for that, but we have not yet. We just got this initial piece done, so.
Go ahead. Yes, good point. So the question is, we talked about this Lakeville shuttle in the morning, that we would run a late Lakeville shuttle in the morning so that if you had a Lakeville family that had an elementary and middle school student, you could just get them on that bus. They would arrive here a little bit later than the other Farmington students, but then that bus would in turn go up to Eagan. And I'm pretty sure your question is in regards to the PM. So kind of in lines of the other question of, yes, the only way to really avoid, there's no possible way to combine those two in the afternoon. So if you're a Lakeville parent, there's most likely, and you have kids in elementary and middle school, there will be 2 required pickups. Unless, again, we come up with some creative way to partner with the school and Paul's staff to possibly hold students, and shuttle them over later. But that at this point has not been.
It just hasn't been organized yet. This is what we know so far. And one of the big pieces missing is what's the enrollment? Who's enrolled? Once we know who's enrolled and where, we can start to really hammer out what this will actually look like. But enrollment's huge, so. Pretty solid, yep.
So to answer that question is no, because we didn't really foresee that as possibly someone wanting that. But the reality is that's very easy to do because all 5 buses that leave out of here are all going to end up at Eagan anyway to bring home middle school students. So they just stay on the bus. They ride the route and stay on the bus as they go up to Eagan to be there. Yeah, you would be looking, school release time, what would we say, 2:30? You know, with 3:30 up there, so you'd be looking at possibly an hour. I mean, some of those buses will be up there sooner. So if you wanted to meet the bus up there, right, it's gonna run the route and go straight up there. But depending on the exact route, it has to run to get students home from the elementary level before heading up to Eagan. They could vary on time, and that's easy enough too, where we say, well, the shortest route is this route. So if we're gonna shuttle students from this campus up to the middle school campus in the afternoon, this would be the route to put the students on.
Picking up my kid at 2:30 is impossible from the schedule, but we're stressing it, picking him up at 3:30. If I take I don't know.
I see what you're saying. We may have to look at some programming here, but when you do programming in a school, it's not so simple. You don't just say, well, gosh, we'll just have some people stay with kids after that. It falls under state purview. You're now having a formalized, organized thing that you had to, that's not, you know what I mean? That's not extracurricular. So if we do that kind of programming, we have to figure out how to do it, and it has to be planned and organized, and it has to be staffed. So we may have to look at something like that, but your idea is not out of line. It just means you're looking at an hour and 15 minutes that they could be on the bus. So.
Go ahead. That, no, because of the timing, right? Middle school's gonna start at 7:30 here, actually, or elementary, let me restate the question here. So will there be a shuttle from the middle school to the elementary school in the morning? So the answer would be no, because of timing issues. You got 7:30 start time here, 8:30 start time up in Eagan. So there would be no shuttle from Eagan to here, because it would be too late.
So it's getting late, and I don't think it's warming up out there. But we need to work through this. This is our first introduction to you. The most important thing you need to be introduced to is the two-tier bus system and the different starting times. What we're going to have to put together is a reasonable sort of manual for you. I mean, with literally this information that says, here's the different routes, here's the times they leave, here's your options. And we will do that for you. We need to, first of all, secure, okay, what's this looking like enrollment wise? So we're going to need a little bit of time, but I would say look to spring. Walk away from this meeting knowing, okay, it's two-tiered. I know the start times for middle school, high school. I know the start times for elementary school. And I know they're going to be running a lot of different bus routes to service those two. The biggest issue anybody's facing for me when I think about it is those parents that have elementary, middle school, high school, and they have to have those elementary kids home earlier. How do they deal with that time discrepancy? And I get that part. But right now, that's something we don't have a full answer to. We'll keep thinking about that, but then I just don't want to keep you all night with questions we can't further elucidate on. So those basic things are in play. If you want to call me directly or send me emails, I will, if I can't answer them, I'll get them to Justin and I'll get you answers back. But right now, I think just raise your hand. Well, don't raise your hand. Do you guys think you have a sense of where we're going? Do you have it? Okay. Great. There's one last piece presentation that they said is good. They're going to keep to 12 seconds, I think they said.
12 seconds.
12 seconds. You've got 12 seconds.
I thought I had 30 minutes. No, just as we close up here this evening, just speaking from the board perspective, I think it's important for you to understand that we as a board are working very closely with Paul and the rest of the expansion team to see this thing move forward, to see this come to reality. You can see tonight, there's a lot being done, pouring into time and resources to get the building, to get it constructed, but also to make sure that we as a community are able to get our kids and continue to see the education that we've known and loved in the years. And so there's some growing pains and some adjustments in this transition, but we're doing everything we can to try to make sure that that we're supporting you as families in this transition to make this doable. And questions are coming up, and those are good questions. And so as you have questions, talk to us, reach out to us, email us as a board, talk to Paul, and we want to continue to work through these things to try to make this transition as smooth as possible. But I also just one last thing, and it's a plug, we need your help as well. So the expansion team, the staff here is doing everything we can to make this work, but we need your help too. Because we're opening up, new sections of 6th through 9th grade in Eagan next year. And we want to have we want to have kids in those seats that can enjoy the great education that our kids have come to know. And so I know Colin is working with a team of parents that's trying to develop some kind of grassroots effort to get the word out. We've got great videos, great marketing stuff that's happening. But a lot of times the best recruitment is word of mouth, is your testimonies. And so we just want to encourage you your kids have friends that maybe go to other schools. Be willing to talk to those families and consider how maybe you know friends in the Eagan, area that would maybe say they wouldn't come down here, but what it's going to be in our area. Well, yeah, now we're interested. We just encourage you to be sharing the news and sharing the word. And so if you're interested in maybe being a part of the team that Colin is working with to have a more systematic plan of getting the word out, I would encourage you to email me as the board chair. My email address is on the website. Let us know, and then we can get you connected up with his team. And like I said, between videos and just our efforts to share our stories with people, we are really excited to see a new set of kids coming to Great Oaks next year to fill some of those seats in Eagan and to continue to see our school grow into the school that we aspire to be, a K-12 school. And so thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your questions. And we look forward to continued conversation. But let's seek to unite as a community and work hard to make this transition to Eagan a reality. And we're excited to see what the future holds. So
For those of you in the room who are interested in helping out with that, love to chat with you afterwards. Just come find me. I'll maybe just get your name, email, or phone number. Those of you on Zoom, if you're interested, you can put your name in the chat or info in the chat, or otherwise email Director Queen here and get your name to us. So yeah, it's going to take a team effort, and we've already got to start going. We're strategizing and got a plan, and we just need some help. So thank you.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Before they go, yes.
And bring it over to this card over that.